Hello fellow readers and readeresses. I am currently in the middle of reading 52 series, and today I'm planning on fixing that. Yes, you heard that correctly. 52 book series. Granted, some of those are rereads for me and others haven't been finished yet, and that is why I haven't finished them as well. However, the vast majority of those are book series that I started and liked to one extent or another and then never continued with. I have a list here with all the series and I'm going to read through them. I'll put timestamps in the description of the video in case you want to skip a part. We're going to start with The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson, which is his big universe that encompasses multiple series, part of which is the second series on this list, Stormlight Archive. And then we go with The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, Hercule Poirot by Agatha Christie, Full Metal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa, Jack Reacher by Lee Child, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, Scottish Bookshop by Jenny Colgan, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan, Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, Little House by Sarah Ingalls Wilder, Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski, The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, Enola Holmes by Nancy Springer, Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, Shadow's End by P.M. Freestone, Little Thieves by Margaret Owens, Elements of Cadence by Rebecca Ross, Andromeda by Michael Crichton, Alex Stern by Lee Bardugo, The Adventures of Tom and Huck by Mark Twain, Farseer Trilogy by Robin Hobb, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, The Lycaeus Trilogy by James Islington, Book of the Eyes by Mark Lawrence, Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, Remembrance of Earth's Past by Sachin Liu, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne, Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, The Cemetery of Forgotten Books by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, Earth Sea Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin, The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, Avatar: The Last Airbender by all of the people that I'm going to put here on the screen because I can't remember them, The Sandman by Neil Gaiman, Dune by Frank Herbert, Buchanan Reynard by Julie Garwood, Discworld by Terry Pratchett, The Lawful Times by Daniel B. Green, The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren, Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, This Woven Kingdom by Tahera Mafi, Black Tongue by Christopher Buehlman, Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, and Targaryen History by George R.R. Martin. That was a long list, and as I already mentioned, some of those series haven't been completed yet, so it's not my fault that I haven't finished them. However, that is a very, very small minority. So last night I sat down with a cup of tea and looked through all of those series and made a decision on how to address this huge number and reduce it hopefully by the end of the year. I basically took the series that are high priority for me, the series that I absolutely am sure I'm not gonna finish, and the ones that I'm not sure about, and then left all the others kind of in the backlog. So the series we're gonna talk about today are split in 4 categories. The first one being series that I want to complete in 2023. The second one, series that I would like to catch up to in 2023. The third one, series that I'm not sure what to do about but definitely want to make a decision this year for them. And the fourth one, series that I decided to DNF outright. And we're going to start with the series that I want to finish in 2023. And the first of those is Farseer Trilogy by Robin Hobb. I'm holding here Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in the series and which made my favorite books of 2022. I love this book and I love this world, and I absolutely want to complete this trilogy this year so that I don't take too much time between books and I don't forget too many of the things. This is a series that I have a buddy read for with a friend of mine, and that is why it takes usually a little bit longer, but I hope she's gonna agree with me that this is the year that we definitely need to complete this lovely, lovely series. The second series that I want to finish definitely in 2023 is probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but that is Scottish Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. This is a trilogy, I believe. I read the first 2 books, The Bookshop on the Corner and The Bookshop on the Shore by her, as a buddy read with the same friend of mine that I mentioned for the previous book, and we quite enjoyed them actually. I wouldn't call them masterpieces by any means, but they are fun. They have an interesting setup and they're cozy and they're messy, very messy, and it's kind of like a nice palate cleanser every every now and then, and since I already read 2 books in this series, I would like to complete it. Next, we have the Lycanius trilogy by James Islington. This is the first book in the series, The Shadow of What Was Lost, and is the only one in this trilogy that I have read as of this moment. I want to read the other 2 this year, mostly because this is a very complicated series. At least based on the first book that I read, there is so much that happens here, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna forget it by the time I pick the other 2, and I kind of think it's doable to read it. This is a very interesting action-packed read, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to tackle it. The next series I have on the list is the Alex Stern duology by Leigh Bardugo. I do believe it's a duology, although I'm not 100% sure, and the second book in it came out on the 10th of January already. I read this one last autumn and quite enjoyed it. The Ninth House, the first book in the series, quite enjoyed it, kind of surprisingly to myself, so I'm thinking it is an easy series to finish since there is only one other book left, and I am somewhat excited about it, so why not? The next series I have on the list is another duology, and yet again by the same author, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the series, Crooked Kingdom, and I only have to read this one to complete it. I read Six of Crows in 2021. This is a young adult fantasy or adult fantasy. I'm not sure which one it is. The main characters are all very young, so I can't necessarily make the difference, although it addresses quite a lot of adult themes. Anyway, I read the first book in 2021 and loved it. It made my favorite books of the year, yet I still haven't continued with the series. I don't even know why, but I would like to do it this year because again, it's an easy win, and I am quite curious to know what is going to happen because the first book ended on kind of a cliffhanger, so to speak. The next on my list of series that I definitely want to finish in 2023 is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the fantasy of all fantasies. One series to rule them all. And unfortunately, I have never finished it in my life. I read the books 1 and 2 way back in the day and then reread them recently with a friend of mine, but never really completed the series, and I would like to do so this year because I like the series. I love this series. It's really cozy, it's really nice to read, but it's one of those things that I keep on postponing for no reason just because I like the looking forward to reading them, I guess. But it's past time that I finish this series once and for all, and this is the year in which I'm doing it. And the last series that I definitely want to finish in 2023 is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I'm not entirely sure that I will be able to do that because this is a quartet with a few novellas which make a gigantic book as well, and I've only read the first book from the series Skyward, so that means that I have to read 4 solid books in order to complete this series this year. This is a young adult sci-fi, and Skyward was pretty easy to read, so I'm hoping that it's going to continue through the series and it's going to be easy for me to complete it. The last book of the series, the 4th one, is supposed to come out this year, I believe, so I think it will be a pretty cool thing for me to be able to keep up and actually finish the series as soon as the last book comes out. These were all the series that I vowed to myself to complete definitely in the year 2023, and now we're going to continue with the book series that I would like to catch up to because they haven't yet been completed themselves. The first series on this list is the one that I'm probably the most excited about of all the series I will talk about today, and that is Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I have read already the first 3 books in the series, The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and Oathbringer. However, I have started a reread of them before I pick up Rhythm of War. Why I'm doing this is because it took too long for me to decide to pick up Rhythm of War, and I would like to refresh my memories before I dive into this one. Plus, a friend of mine who's never read it before wanted to read it as well, so I thought it would be a good thing for us to buddy read it and share all the great emotions of this lovely, lovely series. The next series on this list is The Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a very popular adult fantasy that's supposed to be a trilogy, but currently only has 2 novels out. I read the first one, The Name of the Wind, last year in December and loved it, made my favorite books of the year. And then it also has a novella out, and I would like to read the second book, The Wise Man's Fear, and the novella, The Slow Regard of Silent Things, during the year 2023. I don't know when the 3rd book is going to come out. I don't think anybody knows. Everybody's waiting impatiently sufficiently for it, but I would like to read this one this year because, well, I enjoyed very much The Name of the Wind and I'm curious to know how the story continues. And the third and last series on my list of series that I would like to catch up to during this year is The Lawful Times by Daniel B. Green. This is an adult fantasy that currently has 2 books out, and the third one is supposed to come out sometime soon. I'm not sure exactly how many in total books are going to be in this series. The author, Daniel B. Green, is actually on YouTube, and I'm going to link his channel in the video description. And I very much enjoy watching his videos, and when his first book came out, Breach of Peace, I read it very soon after it was released and quite enjoyed it. It was a novella, very short, very quick read, and so I was very excited when the second book came out and purchased it immediately, and still haven't read it for some reason, but I am definitely planning on doing so this year. I am so curious to know how this series continues. And that was all for the series that I would like to catch up to during this year. Now we're going to continue with the series that I'm not sure what to do with, but I want to make a decision this year. And the first series is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. This is a young adult fantasy that I received in an Illumicrate box and read as part of my Illumicrate reading challenge that I made last year. I'm going to link it here if you'd like to watch it. And back when I read it, I enjoyed it just fine. I had a good time. It wasn't the best book ever, but it was okay. It's just that now when I think about continuing the series, I don't feel particularly excited, and when I look through all the other books that I would like to read, I feel like it might just be a waste of time for me to read something just for the sake of completion. So I've given myself until the middle of the year to make a decision whether I continue with this series or not, or maybe I can just start the second book, and if I don't like it, DNF the rest of the series. I don't know, I think it's a duology, I'm not entirely sure, but again, I don't want to waste time on things that I'm not going to be excited about. The next series on this list is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This is the third book, A Reaper at the Gate. I read the second one, A Torch Against the Night, just recently in December and was so disappointed. Oh my god, I was so disappointed. I liked the first book very much and I read the second one with great expectations. It actually made my list of the worst books of 2022. I will link it here if you'd like to hear more of me ranting about it. The series is a quartet that I have fully purchased, but because of my bad experience with the second book, I am not even sure whether I would like to continue in the series. So my plan is to read a little bit of this one, and if it doesn't get any better, I'm just gonna cut my losses. And the third and last series in this category is This Woven Kingdom by Tahera Mafi. This is a young adult fantasy duology, and I believe the second book is supposed to come out this year. I got this one again in an Illumicrate box, and I read it as part of my Illumicrate reading challenge and liked it very much. I gave it actually quite high rating. I'm not even sure if I didn't give it 5 stars or something. It's just that now that some time has passed, I'm not excited about continuing with this series. I liked the book just fine. I had a good time reading it, but I am not excited to continue. So again, I'm probably gonna read a little bit from the second one and then make a decision whether to invest the time or not. And that concludes all the series that I am not sure what to do with, so I'm gonna make a decision this year, and we have only the last section left, which is the shortest one and is the one that features the series that I outright decided to DNF. The first series on this list is Elements of Cadence by Rebecca Ross. This is again a young adult fantasy, and I believe it's a duology, I'm not entirely sure, and again I received it in an Illumicrate box and it was a part of that Illumicrate video, and to be honest, I didn't have the best time reading this. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was kind of meandering and confusing and the plot didn't make much sense to me, so I don't see the point of continuing with this series at all, and I decided to DNF it and not waste time. And the only other series I have on this list is Dune by Frank Herbert. Now before you pick up your pitchforks, let me explain. I read Dune in 2021 and loved it. I think this is one of the best books that I ever read. I enjoyed it immensely and it made me think differently about a lot of things. I took a lot from this book and I don't regret my experience at all. But to be honest, I am kind of satisfied with where this book ended, and the more I talk to people who have read the rest of the series and listen to their impressions of it, the more I am convinced that if I continue with the series, my good impression of this book and this world is gonna be destroyed. And I think this book is good enough on its own, and I wouldn't want to ruin my memories from it by reading something that might disappoint me. And so yeah, I ultimately decided this is gonna be the end for me with the Dune series, although I am planning on rereading this book one day. So that is a total of 18 series that I'm planning on dealing with this this year. And while that's not gonna solve my problem with too many series in progress, it's still effort in the right direction in my opinion, because I am gonna start new series this year for sure, and I wouldn't want to overwhelm myself unnecessarily. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know how many series you're currently in the middle of, and if you'd like to see my TBR for 2023, check out this video. Bye!